getting some messages in the chat. This is fantastic. So again, as we wait for some students to come in, we'll give it another 2 more minutes. In my team, we like to call it the Zoom 5. A little bit of a 5-minute buffer just to wait for students and other faculty and staff to be coming in. So first of all, it is a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you, EdUSA, for setting all of this up. I know here at St. Francis College, we're always excited to meet other future international applicants and students and share a little bit more about our school. So the purpose of this presentation, share a little bit more tips and tricks of the grad school application process and specifically a statement of purpose. So we're going to be going over that throughout the presentation. By all means, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. Please don't feel shy. I would love to hear more about you, your professional goals and career ideas. And then additionally, as we go through the different slides, any questions you might have, we're going to open up a Q&A section at the end. But feel free as we go through things, if you have a thought, a comment, or a question or things like that, just drop it in the chat and we'll get to it towards the end, okay? So I see that we have about 32 people joining in, which is fantastic. So a little bit about me and my professional background as we go in. I think it's important if I ask you all to share about yourselves that I share a little bit about me. So again, my name is Luiza Teodoro. I am the International Recruitment Specialist at St. Francis College. And a little bit about my background. I did a bachelor's degree in political science and intercultural communications, and I received a master's degree in Latin American studies and do plan in the future to pursue a PhD. So when it comes to the whole statement of purpose and graduate application process, very familiar with it and can completely empathize with all of you that are currently going through this of looking at graduate programs in schools and then also figuring out, well, how do I write a statement of purpose? So with that being said, what I'm going to do is I will share my screen and I'm going to share it in a little bit of just like a visual format in the sense of so I can see where excuse me, I'm having a little bit of trouble with this. So then I could see what you guys are seeing when we have the chat options available. I see there was some people asking about scholarships, things like that. We'll talk about that at the end. So let me share my screen. Can everybody see this format okay? I would love to know that as well, just a little bit. If anything, I can go full screen, but I just would like to be able to see any comments or questions that are coming in. So I'm going to leave it a little bit like this as well. So first things first is the purpose of this presentation is how to write an effective statement of purpose. And I'm sure the very first question, as all of you are reading through programs and reading through application, the very first thing is, what exactly is a statement of purpose? So it kind of gets confusing at a certain points of you're going to hear 2 main statements thrown around, is a statement of purpose and a personal statement. Those are 2 very different things, and we'll go over the distinction. So the very first thing is a statement of purpose is a 1 to 2 page explanation of why you want to go to graduate school. And graduate school could be at the master's level of pursuing an MA or an MS, so a Master of Arts or a Master of Science, or a graduate degree or a graduate program could be at the PhD level. So those are the 2 different distinctions of when we talk about graduate school, the different avenues that you can be going. And then effective statements of purpose demonstrate the candidate's professional writing skills and present the candidate to the admissions committee as a unique intellectual individual. In sum, a statement of purpose is you stating to a graduate school or to a committee, what is your purpose for applying? Why are you applying to this specific school? What do you have to offer? What are you doing in your professional, personal, and academic career that makes you want to go to graduate school? Essentially, it's very self-explanatory in the title. Statement of purpose. You are stating your purpose for graduate school. Now, why do we write one? A lot of the times when we're applying for graduate schools, we're given opportunities to interview, but then additionally, this is the first impression that the committee is getting of you. Instead of you sitting down for a phone call, because unfortunately, we're not always able to get interviews, and with all the different numbers of applicants and the high volume of applicants that schools are getting, it's not feasible for them to meet every single student, especially if it's not a viable choice all the time. So a statement of purpose lets them feel through all of that and be able to get kind of a standardized view of what their applicant pool is. And then additionally, it lets them know, what are you contributing to the field? And what I mean by field is general area of study. if you were going, and we'll go into a little bit of a research-based and career-based graduate programs, but essentially, if you are going into a specific field or specific thought of study, graduate programs want to know, what are you going to be contributing to us? What are you going to be contributing to our program? What are your goals? What do you want to be contributing in the future in your professional, personal, and academic life? And does it align with ours? And specifically, why this particular school? One thing that I want to stress very early on is applying for graduate school as a job in and of itself. And I'm sure many of you know this. But each statement of purpose that you write should be unique to the school you are applying to. You should not write one statement of purpose and then have it go off into all different schools. You can have the same ideas, you can have the same themes, you can also have essentially the same goals, but each statement of purpose should be tailored and specified, kind of like a jacket. Let's think of it. You have one jacket, you have one blueprint of how the jacket should fit, but it's going to fit a little bit differently on each person. And the same thing for graduate school statements of purposes. Each statement of purpose that you write should be tailored and fit the school itself individually, right? Does that make sense? Somebody in the chat could just give me an okay, Anna Luiza, that'd be fantastic. I always love getting some participation from students, so this is great. I do have somebody that raised their hands. Also in the chat, just write whatever questions that you have or comments would be fantastic. So now that we've established what a statement of purpose is, you are stating your purpose for applying for graduate school. You might think, okay, I can start writing. No. A lot of the stuff when it comes to graduate school is, a statement of purpose is a lot of prep before we even put our pen onto paper or start typing on our computer. So let's put the purpose in a statement of purpose. Why are we writing this? Ultimately, you're writing this because you want to go to graduate school. Your ultimate goal is to pursue a degree and either receive a master's degree or, a PhD in this particular field. So the very first thing that I want everybody to think about is, what are you looking to do? What are your professional, personal, and developmental ideas? What do you want to be pursuing? What do you want to be achieving? So that's the very first thing. It's a big question to ask of, what do you want to be doing? Write it down on paper. Write down where you see yourself in an academic field or future. And then specifically, I've made the distinction between an academic degree and a career goal degree. Now, this is kind of based on your field and based on your interests are going to be two different things. So an academic degree and academic degree programs, when you're writing a statement of purpose, are typically focused on theory and research with the end goal of your producing some kind of independent research project. So academic degrees could be something in the field of anthropology, in political science, if you're going to a political science degree without the goals of going to law school. So kind of when you look and you're writing your statement of purpose, you have to think about what are your goals and what do you want to be looking to, so you can tailor your statement of purpose to reflect what the specific program is. If your career goal is to be teaching at a PhD level, to maybe pursue a more tactical degree, like what's a good example of this? Graduate school for marketing or graduate school for business in that regard. That's one of the first things to think about. Okay, is my career goal to start a business? Is my career goal to maybe take the next step in order for me to achieve a degree, for me to move in a professional career? Is it for me to go back to school because my job is letting me pursue a master's degree so I can get a promotion? Is it that I'm interested in this field and I want to be doing research? That's kind of where I would like for everybody, before they start writing, see themselves in the goals. Because if you can answer these questions prior, the writing process for a statement of purpose gets significantly easier. And also keep a journal about it. I highly recommend it. Keep a journal of just writing down whatever thoughts and professional and personal career goals that you have to help you figure this out. So I see some questions in the chat right now. What I'll do is just take a moment just to look through them very briefly before I continue with the conversation. Is this related to grad school for a master's degree? I know I had one student asking that. Absolutely. Statement of purposes, depending on your program, but all programs across the board are for master's degree and on a PhD level. I see a student asking what we can contribute to a university. So what I mean by contributing to the university is, for example, if you are applying, I'm just going to use anthropology. I don't know, that's a degree that's sticking in my head. If you're applying for a degree in anthropology, And the program itself is specifically focused on family relationships, right? Family relationships in different cultures. It's a broad example. What if your specific research goal or your specific background is to contribute to that? To say, well, what I'm really interested in is looking at family dynamics in Nigeria, or comparing the family dynamics in the States to that of Turkmenistan. Essentially, what I mean by contribute to the university is, what are you giving to them? They're giving you an education and degree. You're going to be providing them with research. You're going to be providing them with a place to brag, for them to say, we have a student that did this kind of research that graduated top of their marks. So it's kind of the give and take of the university is giving you a degree, and what are you contributing to their field? What are you contributing to their student body? And is there ongoing scholarships for master's degree programs? Yes. It depends the program. It depends the school that you're applying to. And also depends if you're accepted or not. So a small pause of chat questions. So questions to ask yourself as you're going through this process of writing an effective statement of purpose. What are some books, theories, or ideas or movements that have made a profound impact on you? Be honest. What I mean by this are, what are things in your life or things that you've learned in your undergraduate career that have left an impact on you? It could be simply that you had a professor that was really, really passionate about marketing and you want to pursue a career in that. That's an idea, that's a theme. What if you read a book on Marxism your sophomore year of college and it really impacted the way that you view international politics? That's a book, an idea, or a theory that really impacted you. So that's one thing. Two, what have you been so immersed in that you were doing that seemed to evaporate? What I mean by that is, what are things that you study, things that you write, things that you were interested or focused on that you are completely passionate about? That also can help you figure out what are different programs that you're interested in. Specifically, what about this program or field interests you? That's a very important question to ask. As we write statements of purposes, things that colleges want to know is, why this specific program? Why this specific field? So if you know why this one school you're drawn to, it could be affordability. We'll talk a little bit about how to frame those kinds of questions. It could be because there's a professor that you particularly like. It could be because it is well known and it aligns with your goals, the statement of the school. So what about this specific program or field that you're studying in relation to the school you're drawn to? Why are you applying to that specific program? And additionally, who are you hoping to work with? When you're doing a statement of purpose, sometimes there's a specific professor, there's a specific faculty member that you're really interested in working with or really interested in taking a class in. You could say, there's a program at this one school for a graduate program that I think will be completely aligned to my professional ideals. That's something you put in your statement of purpose. Additionally, what are you hoping to achieve and learn? What are your long-term goals? Ask yourself these questions because they can fuel what is going to be the body of your statement of purpose. So, some examples. As you go and apply for graduate school, you will see examples of prompts along with the, not the academic qualifications, the application qualifications. As you apply along with a CV or a resume, as long with the transcript, they're going to ask for a statement of purpose, and most of the time they will give you a prompt. A prompt is just a question that they will put in front of you in order for you to answer to supply a statement of purpose. So some common examples include a personal statement of 1,000 words or less from a nominee describing his or her background, interests, plans, or graduate study or careers. Essentially, in that statement of purpose, or essentially in that example, what they are asking you is, what about my background, what about my interests, and what about my plans and careers are aligned? What are they for me to apply to graduate school? Essentially, why am I applying? What is the purpose, again, what is the purpose for me to apply for graduate school? And then in the background, interest, and plans, those are the examples that you'll be providing. And we'll go over a little bit at the end of these examples of how to answer those effectively. Additionally, another example would be, how did you become interested in this field? Establish that you have a long-term interest in the field, so you've taken positive steps in pursuing your interests. Give the committee members a sense of your particular interests and abilities and their relevance to your academic studies. So in that example, what they're asking is, one, what motivated you to be interested in this field? Simply saying, oh, I like it and I think it's interesting, is a low-level response. kind of want to amp it up. If just saying, oh, I'm interested in economics and I thought it was fascinating, is not going to make for a strong statement of purpose. If you provided something along the lines of, I've always had a dream of opening up a business and I think an economics degree would be a good choice, a little bit better. But then I think maybe a more effective way to say you're interested in this field would say, based on my previous background, based on my professional development, doing X, Y, and Z, and studying this degree, I became extremely interested in economics on the foundations of, and then you provide your examples. What you always want to do is back your statement up with concrete examples. So, in answering these questions of how would you answer this? Like I said, everything that you write shouldn't be just a blanket statement, shouldn't be just a low-level response. Amp it up. Everything you say should have a concrete example to support it. If you say you are a motivated, hardworking student, what is an example that you're motivated and hardworking? If you are trying to give examples of your particular talents and abilities, it's not enough to just simply say it. You have to provide examples to back it up, right? Everything that you do in a statement of purpose is supplying the reason and is giving evidence as to why you want to study and what is your purpose for this specific school. And additionally, are you qualified to do so? What makes you a good candidate? And I'm sure all of you on this call are excellent candidates for any of the graduate programs that you provide to. So you got to make yourself more competitive, make yourself more compelling. We'll go into a little bit more examples of how to do so at the end of this call in terms of some concrete example. Maybe we can do some back and forth. But let's get to the idea of let's start writing. Some just common themes in all for when you go to write a statement of purpose. The usual format as you're applying for US universities is a size 12 Times New Roman font. I say this, I know it seems pretty generic, but for the most part, schools will not accept your statement of purpose if it is not in this format. If they receive a statement of purpose that is not in the correct format, some schools will ask you to reapply. Some schools simply will not ask you and they will throw your application out. So read all of the application materials very carefully, but the standard is size 12 New Roman font, Times New Roman font, excuse me, 1-inch margins. So that's the spaces between the body of the paragraph and the edges of the paper should be 1 inch. And then based on the program, they might ask you to be double or single spaced. You can always ask your admissions counselor for the programs or the recruitment people of the programs themselves of what they prefer if it's not listed, but it's either double or single spaced. For the most part, it should be double. Length and style. Statements of purposes should be no longer than 1 to 2 pages. Some programs want 1 page on the dot. Other programs will extend it to 2. Make sure you have that. It should be 1 to 2 pages with an introduction, clear statement with a clear statement. And what I mean by that is that in your introduction, you should have one clear statement of saying what's kind of the thesis of the statement of purpose. In the introduction, what will be there in that clear statement of the program you want to study, why you want to study there, and also why you would be a good candidate. You can frame it in several different ways, but that clear statement is the school and the program you're applying for. 3 to 4 body paragraphs, and by body paragraphs, I know a lot of time people call them differently, but you should have 3 to 4 paragraphs in the center, kind of sandwiched, of your statement of purpose that go into the different examples that you're providing of your interests and background, what you want to be pursuing research on, and or your experience as well in terms of things that you're bringing to the school, qualifications of things that you've produced in your undergraduate career. It could be essays or projects that you've worked on. It could be a little bit if you did any presentations or you did any paper presentations or conferences. If you were a TA as an undergrad, which is extremely rare, but also an opportunity. Additionally, have a conclusion. The format of that is introduction with clear statement, body paragraphs with examples, and a conclusion to wrap everything up. And important points to target as you're doing, and this should be the standard for every program that you're applying to, should include the name of the school, the program you're applying for, and your background qualifications. Meaning your statement of purpose, again, should not be one fits all standard that you apply to all school. Each one should name the school itself that you're applying for, the program in that school that you're interested in, and then additionally, where you graduated from. Granted, you're going to be applying a CV and a resume, but it should not be ignored that you have a specific degree. If you have another master's, if you have multiple bachelor's degree, include a little bit of your background so they know where you're coming from, because this statement of purpose is also a time for your personality. I'll take a second just to look on to some questions coming in the chat as well. There we go. I can see some stuff coming in. I see a student right now. Have I counted an essay that's really short but impressive? I'm going to go into that at the Q&A section. It's a very good question at the end of this. And I see another person asking, what is the statement of purpose? Is it an essay we have to write in the Common App? Also a very good question. When it comes to where you're submitting it to, it depends what the program itself is applying. If you're applying through the Common App, there should be a section that says, this is where we view a statement of purpose. It is an essay, 1 to 2 pages long. And then other graduate programs, when you're applying, usually have their own separate application page. So as you're going and applying through them, what you can do is either email it to the representative who's in charge, put it on their page. What I like to say to all students, write your statement of purpose, have it as a Word document, additionally have it as a PDF document saved. Always, always, always check grammar, check spelling. Always have 1 to 3 different people that read your statement of purpose. I cannot tell you the numbers of times that I myself or another student that I have helped work on statement of purposes have written an application thinking that it's spelled and perfectly fine, the grammar is perfectly fine, only to find out that they submitted a document with the first sentence has a word completely misspelled. And that's just because, not because you're not paying attention, because you've read it so many times, you've looked over it so many times, so your brain kind of anticipates the words of what you're writing. So always have multiple people read this. So in terms of where you're submitting it to, it's going to be either on the application itself or additionally through an outside source. And then I know I have some more questions in the chat here. Yes, I know that we had one of the representatives saying that this presentation is going to be recorded and put online, which is fantastic. You guys all get to hear me speak a little bit more about this later. So we'll go a little bit later between some of these questions. I see a student asking the difference between a motivation and statement of purpose. We'll go into that a little bit later. And then also about an essay that's short but impressive. We'll go into that. So again, the qualifications, 1 to 2 pages, size 12, Times New Roman font, 1-inch margins, single or double spaced, and make sure you include the name of the school and the program. Right? So that's when we begin writing. That's when we start outlining a draft. Also, multiple drafts. Your first draft is not going to be your only draft. Your first draft will turn into a second, a third, a fourth. Since a statement of purpose is so small, it's, in my opinion, it's harder to write than a long-term paper because you have to include a lot of information about yourself in a condensed format. And we're going to go into that condensed format and do's and don'ts now. So, a little bit of do's and don'ts of things to keep in mind as you're writing. Do. So first thing to do, get personal. This is a chance to interview. Since they can't get you in person or on the phone, your paper has to speak for you. This is a chance for you to share your best personal and professional qualities that you believe yourself to have. Be confident. Your paper is supposed to read as confidence. You're not guessing yourself. You are extremely qualified for this position. You're extremely qualified for this program. Be personal, be confident, but do not get too personal. When you're writing it, don't use slang, don't use abbreviated words. So how I wrote don't in the presentation, you should be writing do not. This is a personal statement, a professional statement, Statement of purpose is a professional statement, not a creative writing project. Even if you are applying for a creative writing program, a statement of purpose is not a creative writing project. It should not read as something casual. It should also not read as something that you would send your friend. Steer away from niche humor. Humor is regional. It's also based on dialect. It's also based on different ages and cultural phenomena. Don't try to be, I like to tell students, don't try to be too funny. This is a purpose. It's supposed to read in a professional manner in order for you to get your point across. You're applying for a graduate program. If it's to be funny, it's to be humorous, you have all the opportunity to let your personality shine once you're in the program. This should be more of a clear-cut statement of saying what are your personal, professional, and also your resources that you're providing to the school. Do be clear and concise. Map out what you want to say. Write an outline, write several outlines. Make sure that what you want to be saying in your statement of purpose, which again, why you want to be studying in the school, why you are qualified, and also what do you want to be doing in the future. Simply saying I want to apply to graduate school because it's the next step isn't a valid response. Be clear, be concise. If you can say something in one sentence, well, let me rephrase that a little bit. A lot of the times as you read things over, you find out something that you said in 2 to 3 sentences could be said in 1 sentence. Try not to be too wordy. So do not try to say everything. Like I said, it's 1 to 2 pages. As much as I would love to read 3 to 5 pages of everyone explaining their personal backgrounds, their professional goals, it's not feasible for a committee council in order to do so. So you want to pick quality over quantity. What are quality examples? Instead of providing a list, and we'll go into this next, of 12 different ways that you're a responsible and effective student, what's one really good one? If you want to be studying, let's think of something specifically. If you want to be studying economic trends in the Southeast, right? That's a random broad example. If that's one specific thing you want to do, don't say 12 other topics. Say the one topic that you're interested in. Say the one thing that you can expand upon, that you could talk the most about. Quality over quantity. Be clear and concise in what you want to say. And also the language that you're using, again, like we're saying, not being too personal, should reflect this. It should be clear, it should be cut, and then also it should be crisp in a way that you're not repeating yourself. Also, provide examples for every point that you make. This is a very important thing. If you are writing something and you make a statement, for example, saying you are interested in something, you should have a concrete example in order to back up that statement. If you are saying that you are providing a quality trait, a professional trait, a goal that you have, should always have an example or should always have a reasoning to support it. That should be a general rule. Anything that you bring up should have something to support it. Think of like building a house. A house will fall apart without a foundation. Every point that you bring up should have something to back it up. Do not create a list of examples. As you're reading a statement of purpose, it shouldn't be a list of reasons just why you want to be going to this specific program. It should not read as if you are just simply listing down all the different reasons why going to graduate school is a good idea. It should not read as just a list of why this specific program sounds fun or sounds interesting. It should also not read as a list of things that you're interested in. All of your examples that should be shining ones, like I said, quality over quantity, should be examples and should be points that have concrete resolutions. And what I mean by resolutions is that it kind of has a goal, kind of has a purpose of you stating it. You shouldn't just be throwing things in your statement of purpose that has no purpose to back it up. Everything that you bring up is to kind of be the foundation of this idea that this specific graduate degree program, even if you're applying to multiple, is the one that you want to go to. And then final, be passionate. Avoid cliches. Cliches are a good cliche, or that's a fun oxymoron, a good cliche. A cliche to absolutely avoid, in my opinion. I've always dreamed of getting this degree. It is my dream to get this. Avoid that. It is a cliche. Everybody do this. Avoid broad statements of, well, everybody knows you need to succeed. To succeed, you need to have a master's degree. Or kind of making broad generalized statements in which you're going to have multiple people or speak on behalf of a multiple group, or saying things like, it is my dream. I've always loved to do this. Ever since I was a young child, I've been interested in this. Avoid that. That is a cliche. Everybody has these thoughts and ideas. It's great to start off there. Absolutely great to start off there as you're drafting and brainstorming ideas. That's a great jumping off point, but let's take it up a notch. Again, be passionate. Why do you want to study this specific thing? If the reason why you want to study this specific thing is a little bit more cut and dry, for example, it's like, well, I want to apply for a graduate program so I can continue in my field, we can elevate that. We can elevate that a little bit more, and we'll talk about that at the end of the Q&A a little bit. But again, be passionate. You're applying for graduate school. This is a fantastic, fantastic accomplishment for all of you. Be proud of that, but then additionally, be clear and concise in a professional manner if you're presenting this in a statement of purpose. Now, before I go into contact information, that kind of brings us to a close of this visual presentation. This is my contact information, and we'll have plenty of time to go over examples, talking a little bit of more steps to do so. And I'll open up the floor absolutely for questions for students, for anybody else on the call. Again, my name is Luiza Teodoro. I am the International Recruitment Specialist at St. Francis College. We offer several master's degree programs, graduate degree, master programs at our school. I would love to share that with you. By all means, you could send me an email. My email's over here, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. And then also, you can contact me on WhatsApp as well. That's the WA that's listed right over here. And then also my landline number, if you do have an American number, or if you do not have a WhatsApp account. By all means, send me a message. I would love to talk to you a little bit more and see if there's a graduate program at St. Francis College that's a good fit for you. But also visit our booth. But I will close that presentation. And what I will do right now is I will go over a little bit of questions. I will go over a little bit about, I know somebody, a student that before had asked a essay that is short and impressive. I will go over that absolutely. In the meantime, does anybody have any questions about the content that we went over? Any feedback? They do a good job, guys. In that regard, do you have any feedback in terms of, does it make sense of what a statement of purpose is? I know we had a few attendees that were raising their hands, who by all means, if you raise your hand throughout the conversation, throughout the presentation, drop it in the chat. What are the graduate programs that St. Francis College offers? Absolutely, I can go into that and explain to you. Does anybody have any questions about writing the statement of purpose process? And yes, I will write my contacts and information in the chat. So some of the programs that we offer at a graduate degree level at St. Francis College include accounting, so a Master's of Science in Accounting, creative writing, a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, a Master of Science in Management, and in management you can go into different branches of business management, digital marketing, healthcare management, project management, or social innovation and entrepreneurship. So then management is one of our most popular master's degree programs. And then also we have a psychology master's degree program, which if you're applying as an undergrad, you can directly transfer into the master's degree program. If not, you can go in that as well. I know I had a student over here who asked if we have a medical school. Unfortunately, we do not. But what we do if you're applying as an undergraduate, can definitely connect you with different resources to apply for medical school in the future. And thank you for everybody saying I did a good job. Warms my heart. So let me write my contact information here again. I write my full name and my email, but then additionally, I see that we had a student saying, can I use my previous statements of purpose and change it a bit? I recommend that. What's that kind of called is a skeleton. Think of, again, like a skeleton, a basic outline of how you want it to be, and then you change it a little bit for each school. Not each statement of purpose that you're applying to multiple schools has to be drastically different. They should be different in terms of you have to write the program itself that you're applying for. You have to be writing the school. I don't think, well, there's several things more embarrassing, but it's probably one of the most embarrassing things as an applicant is to apply for one school, realizing that in the first few sentences, you're mentioning applying to another one that you messed up that part of your application. So always make sure if you're using this previous statement of purpose to one, always make sure you change the names of the schools you're applying to. And then secondly, also to change the interest. If the program A, let's say, is specific about it has one program that's specific about one region or one topic, and school B is different, make sure you reflect that in your statement. So you can have a basic skeleton outline of traits and qualities that you yourself want to bring upon, but then the content of it should change a little bit school for school. Where are we located? St. Francis College is located in Brooklyn, New York. So if you're familiar with any part of how Manhattan is located, so we're located one subway stop away from Manhattan, which is about a 7-minute subway ride. So we're right located by the financial district of Manhattan and kind of by the water side of Brooklyn, New York. Our school itself does not offer scholarships or graduate degree programs, but we offer extremely competitive rates, meaning that the rates that graduate students pay per credit is significantly less. If you would like, send me an email. We could talk about that a little bit more. Do colleges check for writing the same letter? Oop, hold on, I got a message for a second. Do colleges write to see if we're writing the same letter for 2 different universities? Colleges themselves don't have access to see where you're applying to different schools. That's number one. But number two, if your program itself is a little bit different, like I said, edit each thing to be differently. If you are plagiarizing, and this is a very important part. For example, if you're reading examples of personal statements online, you can get inspiration from it. But if you copy and paste anything from online into your essay, colleges will know. Colleges will know all the time, and they will immediately throw out your application. In graduate school, plagiarization or plagiarizing documents is extremely serious. If you are caught ever, and you will be caught, if you ever plagiarize a document or use somebody else's, they will know, and it will be a very serious issue. So understand you're not plagiarizing, absolutely. But if you're using multiple statement of purposes for each school, like I said, edit them a little bit, just for each program to be a little bit different of reflecting your interests and things like that. But the colleges themselves will not know that the other schools that you're applying for. Going back to the question of, we're going to say short and impressive, and then also what's the shortest essay that I've encountered. Like I said, statement of purposes should be between 1 to 2 pages long. Nothing longer. I cannot think of a school that accepts anything longer than a 2-page personal statement. Statement of purpose. As you see, it's easy. It's easy to say a personal statement, and then I'm going to reiterate it again. The difference between a personal statement and a statement of purpose. A personal statement is sharing a little bit more about you. It's personal. You're learning about your personality, your goals in that sense. A statement of purpose is your reason for applying. Think personal statement, your personhood, who you are as yourself. Statement of purpose, what is your reason for applying to graduate school? Those are the distinctions between the two. So that's number one. I don't know any school that would apply or will have an application for a statement of purpose that is more than 2 pages. It should not be less than a page. If your personal statement is half of a page, that is not a good personal statement. You should be struggling to bring it down to a page or 2, in my opinion, because you want to be able to share your information, to share your personal and professional goals. That's number one. That being said, yes, I've read several statements that are about a page or 2 long that are extremely impressive. That is fine. And what makes those impressive statements is that they were clear in their goals. They were clear in what they wanted to say, and they provided examples for every statement that they made or for every claim that they made. That's what made them extremely impressive. So that's one to answer that question. I have one student, asking about the motivation letter. So motivation letter, what I believe, based on, I think that might be a little bit of a cultural or regional thing, because I know in the States when you're applying, we have statement of purpose and personal statement. A motivation letter most likely is a statement of purpose. They should be the same thing. Because again, what is motivating you to apply for school? So if they're saying they want 2 different things, a motivation letter might be a personal statement or it might be a statement of purpose. You just have to see in your application. I know when you're applying for schools in the States, statement of purpose, again, your reason for applying for graduate school. And then additionally, your personal statement, or in this case, might be a motivation letter, is the more of your personal reasons of what's motivating for you to apply for school and more of a personal background. They are looked. So then we'll go into that. I know I have a student here that's asking, where a student embarrassed about their majors due to cultural, religious, or social causes. So what should they do in that case? So this is, I think, a little bit more of a personal question. Whatever majors that you are looking at, and whatever majors that you're applying for, be proud in what you're applying for. Don't be embarrassed of your major. You are I think every major has different things contribute and different purposes and different end goals. So if you feel a little bit embarrassed about your major, think about that. What makes you embarrassed about your program? I think it's an absolutely amazing idea of just, even if societal causes are causing you to be a little embarrassed, that might be fuel. It might be fuel for your personal statement or your statement of purpose. And your statement of purpose of saying you want to maybe reduce the stigma of this degree being commonly accepted in your culture, religious, or social situation. You know, take what is that you feel might be uncomfortable and turn it into a positive to try it again. Your purpose of applying to graduate school. What is your reason for applying? So what should they write about? Again, statement of purpose. What you're writing for is your purpose for applying to graduate school and reflects closer to your goals. That's a little bit more of how I would answer that question. And then I have another student asking, is the letter the most important among all other documents, or are they all, along with academic transcripts or IELTS score, are they looked at equally? All of them are looked at equally. When it comes to graduate school applications, there's no one part that's more important than another. It's kind of looked at like, building a quilt, building a blanket. Some pieces might be bigger than the other. They might be shaped a little bit differently, but they all come together to build a blanket. Same thing for your application. Your statement of purpose, your personal statement, your transcripts, your IELTS scoring, etc., are all used to build your application. So each part is reviewed individually, but not one is more important than the other. They're all equally important. I have another student asking about studies due to coronavirus. While I can't speak to all universities, I know several in the States are making accommodations for their students in order for them to be able to study in person. So meaning a combination of hybrid courses, a mix of online or in person. At St. Francis College, what we are doing is we are hoping that the spring session or the spring term, which is coming this 2021, this January, we are hoping for it to be enacted fully in person, but we have measures in place for us to go hybrid, meaning we'll have some classes, a mix of in-person and online for students who want to come study in country. And that's if you choose to go through the visa process, you are accepted for your visa, and you're able to come into the States. We are giving the option for be able to do that in person. So most of your classes will be online with one or two in person. But we are also understanding that visa processes are difficult. A lot of students are uncomfortable traveling due to coronavirus. So we are also offering, if students do want to start in the spring, to begin the spring session online. All this is pending information. We'll be receiving confirmation shortly of what our definitive stance is going to be, but that's how we have been operating. And yes, I know we have a student who's just asking if we can study in person for autumn 2021, which is our fall 21 semester that begins in September. Absolutely, we are moving forward with fall 21 to be in person. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up at the end. I'm going to bring it back a little bit again to the idea of personal statements and things like that in terms of graduate school. So again, your statement of purpose is your purpose for applying to graduate school. You're providing concrete examples, concrete reason as to why applying to graduate school is a fit for you, and specifically why this program. Every statement that you say should have a reason to back it up. Every comment that you say should have examples to back it up. It should be clear, it should be concise, 1 to 2 pages long, and it should be personalized, tailored to each college. All right, I think that kind of sums everything up. What I will do again in the chat is that I'm going to drop my contact information. By all means, if you're interested in any of our programs, give me a call. Shoot me a message. My email is ateodoro@sfc.edu. And my WhatsApp number, I will be writing in the chat as well for all of you to send me a message if you do choose to do so. I hope this was helpful. I do want to thank again Education USA for really helping set this up. It was a pleasure to speak to all of you, to learn a little bit more about your interests and careers, and then also to share a little bit more on this graduate school process. So thank you so much for your time. I do really appreciate it. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. And we're going to be wrapping up this call. I'll stay on a little bit for any questions, but Absolutely. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. It's a pleasure to meet and speak with all of you today. And good luck in your graduate degree journey. All right? Have a wonderful, wonderful evening wherever you are in the world. Bye, everyone.
Thank you a lot for your presentation. And everyone, you still have time to talk to US universities. It's quite unique when you have 65 US colleges and universities, and they're all here, they're all live right now, and you still have 1 hour. So just go back to the chat, try to find those universities and colleges that you want to apply to, and ask your questions.
Absolutely. Thank you again. A minute exit off this chat. Please, if anything, visit us at our booth. And once again, thank you for your time, your patience, and your energy. Stay well. Everybody stay safe as well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.